Hello there YouTube, it's your boy B3, back with another kicking manga review. Today we're starting a new series that longtime fans might have seen in comic book halls. It is Kamen Rider Kuuga, Volume 1. Yes, many of you know that I'm a huge Kamen Rider fan, a huge Tokusatsu fan. So whenever a Tokusatsu project comes to the States, whether it be a show, a movie, a manga, you know I have to absorb it. And I have the first several volumes of Kamen Rider Kuuga from Titan Manga, Titan Comics, Stonebot Manga, etc. And the Kamen Rider Kuuga show is for children, but the manga says suggested for mature readers, and it's mostly for violence. Hardcore graphic violence. Kamen Rider is one of those franchises like Batman or Godzilla where it just works on all levels. You have Batman media that's super silly, goofy, and kid-friendly, and you have Batman media that's super grimdark. You have Godzilla media that's the same way, and both ends of the spectrum and everything in between just work. Yeah, you can have your preference on which one you like, but they just work. And Kamen Rider is the same way. There are some sillier, goofier, more lighthearted, kid-friendly Kamen Riders, like, say, Kamen Rider Fourze, which is an intentionally much more lighthearted Kamen Rider show. And then you can have this, Kamen Rider Kuuga manga, for mature readers. Very cool. So, let me read you the back of the book. Based on the hit Japanese tokusatsu show comes the Kamen Rider Kuuga manga, available in English for the very first time. A series of fiery murders rocks Tokyo, prompting Detective Kaoru Ichijo to investigate. Meanwhile, researchers in Nagano discover an ancient casket, awakening the ancient evil that dwells within. Just as young student Yusuke Godai returns to Japan, unaware that he's the final piece of the puzzle that will see the return of the enigmatic spirit Kuuga. Yeah, this runs about $12.99 in the US at the time of recording this. And it's pretty cool, you know. Original story by Shitoro Ishinomori, script by Toshiki Inike. Is that how you pronounce that? Artist Hitoetsu Yokoshima, planning Shinichiro Shirakura. So sorry. Anyway, let's get into Volume 1 of Kamen Rider Kuuga. So yes, it does start with like archaeologists and anthropologists pulling this mummy out of the ground in Japan, and it looks like a mixture of like Central and South American archaeology, but also Egyptian, and they're very fascinated by it. But you know, this mummy, which seems to be wearing a Kamen Rider belt, comes to fiery life before it goes to the police precinct, where there's this kind of friendly sparring match between some cops. One that's a bit more of a serious cop, a bit more of a rival to this more lighthearted cop, who's also pretty serious in his line of work, you know. And before I continue, there's a third cop, and she is the most lighthearted one. They're kind of on a spectrum, you know. One guy is the more serious one, the lady's the more lighthearted one, and then there's another guy right in the middle. But before I go any further, I do want to say, I'm judging this as the manga alone, because even though I have watched many Kamen Rider shows, I jump around. I don't watch them in order. So I have not seen Kamen Rider Kuuga. I've seen Agito, Ryuki, Kabuto, Decade. I've seen many Kamen Rider shows from this era. Never got around the Kuuga. I've seen like Dino and stuff. Never got around the Kuuga, even though Agito's kind of a sequel to it. You can understand Agito without Kuuga. Keep that in mind, though. That might be more relevant later. But yeah, I won't be comparing this to the show, because even though I've seen Kuuga as a guest star and in crossovers and the weird decade version of him, which I hear is not representative of his show. None of the decade versions are. I kind of know about Kuuga, but I don't know about Kuuga. You get what I'm saying? I haven't seen the show. I've seen him in many things, but I haven't seen the show. Which is kind of nice because I can approach the manga without comparing them. It's actually almost preferred for me. Because comics are my favorite medium, I've decided. It used to be film, now it's comics for sure. And I would prefer to read the comic first. Just personally. There's no right way to do it. Anyway, there's a serial killer that worships this horrifying spider goddess, and he blows people up. He like fills them with gunpowder and explodes them so they turn into fireworks, so that their beauty will please his goddess. God, it's really freaky. Actually, he's a horrifying serial killer. You just watch this woman blown to smithereens, and then there is this spider kaijin running around sucking the juice out of everybody, and not in the fun way. It's actually pretty wild and very gory. This is a gory book. But also, the kaijin in this kind of follow the original kaijin. I haven't finished it yet, but I am watching the original Kamen Rider. And this is kind of the same order. The original Kamen Rider's first one is a spider kaijin. Kuuga in the manga's first villain is a spider kaijin. Then it's a bat kaijin in the original Kamen Rider, and then it's a bat kaijin in here. So they are kind of paying homage to the original Kamen Rider in that way. And Kuuga was a TV show revival, you know. And we see this kind of basic form of Kuuga show up to fight the spider kaijin and save the police officer who was there. It's pretty fun. And then we see the very happy-go-lucky, wholesome guy who's maybe not like the smartest dude in the world. He's almost naive in a way. And he will eventually become Kuuga. He kind of butts heads with one of the cops, because there was the cop who was like serious but not like super serious. This cop this cop, Kaoru Ichijo, he's kind of doubting his abilities and stuff. He's letting the fear creep in. He never did when he was investigating human crimes. But now that there's kaijin monsters running around, he's kind of losing his edge, and he does not like Yusuke Godai, who he sees as very pushy and dumb and blah blah blah. Even arrests the guy because he helps like a purse snatcher get away, because the purse snatcher claims he's doing it because he has a family to feed. And you know, it's never written in a way where it comes back and he finds out the purse snatcher lied to him, so I assume that that actually is correct. But yeah, we see this ancient version of Kuuga show up a couple times, and it seems like being Kuuga is like a curse. This old version of Kuuga is trying to find someone to pass it to, someone who lives in this modern world and understands it, which will help them fight the monsters better, but also so this old Kuuga's spirit can finally rest. And it's pretty horrifying, you know? You see, like, the bat kaijin takes the place of this trusted priest. I don't know why people trust priests. I'm kidding. And he has to, like, abduct a certain amount of women for this ritual and turn them into zombies. But, you know, after he's turned them into these vampiric zombie creatures, if the sun touches them, they die. So they have to defeat the bat and destroy him before the sun touches a mutual friend of the detective and soon-to-be new Kuuga. She gets abducted, turned into a thrall, and they have to destroy this big vampire bat monster before she herself is destroyed. But, yeah, the new Kuuga At first, it's going to give, I think it's a lady, is going to give her power to the detective, and she like kind of sees the fear and uncertainty and stuff in him, and then she goes to give it to the wandering student, Godai, and she's like, okay, yeah, I see your kind spirit, I see your desire to protect people, and your fearlessness in the face of danger, blah blah blah. You have a soul that I think can really handle this, but you have to endure torture first. Just unbelievable torture before you can turn into Kamen Rider Kuuga. Yeah, the bicycle's not really an ancient part, but he has his own bike, so that's fun. Anyway, it kind of ends with him transforming into Kuuga full-fledged for the first time. It's still like the basic white form of Kuuga. At least I think it's a white form. Obviously, this manga's in black and white. But I know there is a white form of Kuuga with smaller kind of horns. Once again, I'm mostly familiar with Kuuga in crossovers and stuff, and in that I usually see him in his kind of Ultimate Darkness-y finalish form and his regular red form. But yeah, that's it for Kamen Rider Kuuga Volume 1 from Titan Manga and Stonebot Manga. It's a very enjoyable book. The language and stuff isn't what makes it mature. What makes it mature is really mostly just the violence. Horrific violence. But once again, Kamen Rider is one of those franchises that's just kind of across the spectrum. You've got your wholesome riders, you've got your mid-ground riders, and you have your grimdark riders. It's not as dark as like Amazons or Black Sun or something like that. If you have a teenager, like a 15-year-old, this book's probably okay for them if you're fine with them watching a woman get blown up or a monster chomp somebody. It's more most of the violence is fantasy. There is human on human violence. Most of it is fantasy monster violence, but it's still pretty gory. So that's why it's for mature readers. But it is a good book with interesting characters and magnificent art. They really make the monsters look horrific. The shading is incredible. I love the flow of the panels. They really do a great job of telling this story, and I cannot wait to do Volume 2 for you guys. So that's it for Kamen Rider Kuuga Volume 1 from Stonebot Manga and Titan Manga. Thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.